Okie dokie, artichoke. We're just going to do a one fraction kind of problem. And so the first thing I spy, that there's only one fraction in it, and then everything else is pretty much normal. So we're going to go back to our same strategy of what's x with, how are they connected, and how do we undo it, right? So remember, every time we are solving, we are undoing order of operations backwards. So I notice an addition. These are connected by multiplication. So when we work backwards, we're going to undo addition first. And I always think about that as farther from the x. These are like smushed together, so they seem like they're going to be really hard to pull apart. So I'm going to undo that part first. All right, so I'm going to undo that addition with subtraction. What I do to the left, I do to the right to keep things balanced. 5 minus 2 is 3. The 2's cancel out because together they produce a 0, so there's nothing on that side, except, of course, for that 3/4 x, and here's where the fun begins, right? So when you've got a fraction out in front, you can do lots of things. So step number one is you can, instead of thinking about it as a fraction, you can think about it as a decimal, and you can just literally go to Desmos or go to your calculator and figure out what that fraction is as a decimal. But remember, 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. So whether you use Desmos, a calculator, or you just know that in your brain, you can convert from a fraction, if you don't like it, to a decimal. And then again, same kind of process. What's x with? That 0.75. They're connected by multiplication, which we undo by division. So I'm going to undo by 0.75. And that might look weird, but I can type 3 divided by 0.75 in my calculator, and I can type it in Desmos. And we're going to get our answer there of 4. And yay! So that wasn't so bad, right? If you want to think about, and this will work with any fraction. If I had 7/3 there, we could put 7/3 in the calculator and use that as the decimal. If it was 1/9, we could use 1/9 as the decimal. It works every single time. So that's option number one. But sometimes the decimals can be a little messy, like 1/9 is 0.11111 forever. So let me show you a different way. So same problem. I'm just going to move this to the other. So we've got 3/4 x plus 2 equals 5. You notice it and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to subtract 2. I can do that. Now I've got 3/4 x equals 3. And now I'm going to do this in 2 steps because there's 2 things with the x. There's the 3 and the 4. And the order doesn't matter, but I always reverse in this particular order first. So that's just me. I see a fraction. Fraction means division. So what undoes division is multiplication. And now you're like, okay, but now what do I multiply by? Well, you're undoing the division. Here's the division. You're undoing that dividing by 4 with a multiplying by 4 on each side. So if this denominator was 7, I'd multiply by 7 on both sides. If that was a 10, I'd put 10 on both sides. So you're undoing that division with multiplication. And the purpose of that was to undo. So the 4 and the negative, or sorry, the 4 and the 4, these cancel each other out. They produce a 1, so we don't need to write that. And we've got a regular old 3x, and then we've got the 12 on the other side from 3 times 4. So now that 4 and this 4 together have, taken each other out. That way you don't have to see them. And now you've got that 3x. And now x is with 3 connected by multiplication, which we undo by division. So now x is equal to 4. And now you've got same exact problem. You got 2 ways to do it, in which case I don't care which one you use, whatever one is easier for you, whichever one makes more sense. That's kind of the point, is that you got to find your own path and figure out what strategies you like. All right, hope that helps.